this company is like mine. It's a brand I've never really heard of, and they're getting 20,000 clicks per month, or they're getting 100,000 clicks per month.
How are you going to differentiate from anybody if you're just a generic coffee company or a generic graphic tee company?
They drop like 30% in traffic from the migration. That's what can happen when you make a big mistake in SEO.
So Patrick, if someone comes to you as an SEO expert and says, I have this e-commerce store on Shopify, I need to work on my SEO. How do you approach that? What are the first questions you ask, and what's your philosophy of how to be an answer in that question?
Yeah, so if somebody comes to me and they want SEO, or maybe they already know SEO and they're looking for advice, or whatever it might be, my first question is usually to figure out if they actually need it. Because a lot of times people will hear the term SEO and they feel like they need to have it. Like if you read any of these articles, or if you ask ChatGPT, because it's based off those articles, like, how do you market a Shopify store? It's always going to be one section about SEO. But in reality, not every store needs SEO. Not every store needs meta ads. Not every store needs Google ads. And, a problem that people find themselves in is that they think they need all of it. And so they do kind of a subpar job at a lot of it. And I find SEO to be, for e-commerce, very specific to certain niches. So if you're in a big niche and you don't really have any small, lower competition identifier, like if you just sell shirts, and I've tried doing SEO for graphic tees or something, it's just going to be so difficult that it's not going to really be a good ROI. So the first question when you're talking about Shopify SEO is, does it make sense to do it? Or is it better for me to spend my time on Google ads, meta ads, or something along those lines? And so that's always my first question. So if I'm in a discovery call, I'm always just well, tell me, what do you know about SEO? What are you doing? What are your keywords? What are you trying to show up for? And then hopefully, let's say they actually know that. Sometimes they don't. But if they have an idea of what, they want to show up for, and if they don't, we can kind of figure those out together. And, what kind of actual words are your customers searching? So we'll figure that out first. And then we go into competition levels because, running shoes, shirts, these kind of things are extremely competitive. But bee equipment for at home, if somebody wants to have a bees out in their backyard, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's something you can rank number one for. So when you're in those specific sub niches that you can dominate, that's where SEO becomes a growth channel, and that can really drive revenue. But outside of those specific niches where you can really win something, I think that's the most important thing, is at the beginning trying to find what is that niche. And if you do have to kind of maybe it's not graphic tees, but it's graphic tees for kids, at least kind of expand it out a little bit, for toddlers, for whatever it might be.
Yeah. So it sounds like it's kind of the classic question of niching down. And an example that came to mind as you were talking was coffee. So let's say there's a store that sells coffee. That feels like a pretty broad keyword to try to rank for. It's going to be very competitive. And also the individual order sizes are probably going to be fairly small. So it's not a huge margin to work with. So maybe if there are certain health benefits of the coffee, or certain toxins it avoids, or some other value that you can combine with the coffee that people might be searching for, then that allows you to really niche down on more achievable keywords. Is that how you would think about it?
Yeah, exactly. And it is hard. Sometimes you can morph into a separate sub niche for SEO, but I would say most of the time it has to be somewhat authentic. So for example, if you're going coffee, you can't be it's unwise if you're not a healthy coffee to try to go into the healthy coffee space, because people that have been in that sub niche have worked on it probably for a while, and they probably put it in a lot of their marketing. So it's typically you do want to take something that is somewhat of a competitive advantage, but it's exactly like that. It's if you're in a sub niche, so rather than coffee, it's coffee with health benefits. It's, this kind of thing. That's where you can really win a specific sub niche. And when you're searching around on Google and asking ChatGPT and all these things, you can kind of notice that there's niche winners in particular markets. And, if you search Google for coffee versus healthy coffee, the results are going to be wildly different. And if you're searching coffee, you're probably going to, I don't know what you get, but you're probably going to get one of those, what is that, coffee that everyone, one of these super popular coffees.
Black Rifle or Blue Bottle or something.
Yeah, something like that. Or the Columbia, I'm just thinking of that big red can, if you know what that is.
Oh, like Folgers or
Yeah, Folgers
yeah,
coffee. Like it's like
yeah,
one of these like household names that are going to be really hard to compete with.
yeah. So it sounds like that part of it's kind of like a brand positioning component, which applies to all of your marketing. Like, how are you going to differentiate from anybody if you're just a generic coffee company or a generic graphic tee company? And then SEO kind of naturally flows out of that.
Mhm.
But let's say somebody already has an established store and they sell, aftermarket car parts, or let's say something that's kind of generic. Maybe they're not sure like how well they can compete on these specific keywords. I guess maybe one way, and maybe tell me if you agree with this, I guess you might have to look at which of your products might be more suitable for SEO. Maybe there are some that are less. Or like how can you position them, or how can you write content around them that is a bit more targeted at certain keywords? So maybe there's like, tools for DIY mechanics at home who are, I don't know, like maybe they're not novices, they're somewhere intermediate. You can kind of like narrow in on a specific type of customer and the keywords they might be searching for that you can use in your content.
Yeah, exactly. And I think this comes down to the skill of understanding competition levels. And I can give a super easy way to do this, which is just if think about brand power. Like if you search something that you're considering on like, hey, maybe I can go graphic tees for kids. Well, search that. And now what you'll probably find like Target. You're not going to compete there, right? Huge brand. Now if you do search, I don't know, graphic tees for toddlers, even like slightly different. You start searching these different things, or graphic tees for kids age, 5 and above or whatever. Then you might see these more sub brands. So you might see like a brand you never heard of and you click on it and it kind of looks like you. That's where you can start to see, okay, there's some kind of sub niche here that I can
Hmm.
dominate. And then what you'll do is that you'll throw that into a tool like SEMrush or Ahrefs, and it'll actually just directly tell you how much traffic that site has. So like SEMrush is the most popular one. They'll give you a couple free searches. So you could go on there right now. You can make a trial account or something, drop in a couple websites there. And then you can see, okay, this company is like mine. It's a brand I've never really heard of, and they're getting 20,000 clicks per month, or they're getting 100,000 clicks per month. That's where now you have some baseline of, oh, this is a niche that I can get into, and it's not just dominated by the Targets of the world.
Yeah. And we're kind of getting into what I wanted to ask about next, which is the the keyword research component, or like how do you even know which niches, phrases, keywords you should start optimizing your content for? And I think you just mentioned one that I think is really good is do some searches and start finding some of these smaller brands, and then just look at their websites and see what keywords and niches they're competing for, and that can give you some ideas. But then once you get into using tools like SEMrush or Ahrefs, what kind of like research are you doing? How are you evaluating keywords to determine like, can I rank for this? Should I target this keyword?
Mhm. Yeah. And I think the easiest way for a non SEO would be really just to do the competitor analysis of, is this a company similar to mine? Now, the easiest way to kind of do that is like if you throw it into SEMrush, you can see what is their like authority score. And same with Ahrefs is that you can see what their DR domain rating is. And then there's also Moz with their domain authority. So all of these are third-party metrics. They don't mean a ton. But they give you some kind of baseline on where are they at and where are you at. Because ultimately, authority in the SEO space is primarily developed by like brand recognition. But then at the end of the day, that's oftentimes backlinks. So how many people are linking from other websites like say Forbes.com over to your website. And then you can kind of see, you might look at a result and then you might see the top 3 and throw them into SEMrush. And if you see they are, fairly similar to you when you throw your website into SEMrush, then it's something you can compete at. And now if they're not similar to you and say you're brand new and SEMrush says you're like a 0, then you have to figure out, okay, what is that gap between us? And like, how can I start building up some kind of authority? And honestly, like SEO for brand new websites is difficult. People think that it's going to be as like, oh, well, I can't do ads because I don't have enough money. I'm going to do SEO. And no, you're going to need quite a bit of budget if you're a new website, because you're going to have to, these people have been investing in SEO for 3 years and you're coming in on the market. So, if you don't have anything running yet, you can do some SEO, but to really kind of make it a growth engine, typically you're going to want, a website that's been live for a few years is usually best.
Okay. So let's say my site has a pretty low authority score. It's fairly new, and I know that I want to invest for the long term to build up my organic traffic. Practically speaking, like I know some of the basics are like, and a lot of people, if I'm talking to a client and we're talking about SEO, they might say like, well, I publish blog articles. I'm writing product descriptions that are unique to my products, and we're trying to incorporate keywords in the right ways. And I think there's a lot of on-site stuff we can get into. I'm curious also about the offsite component, and I think the biggest thing people talk about there is backlinks. So getting other sites to link back to you. What does that look like, now in 2026? I know it's changed over the years. It used to be perhaps easier to game the system. There are private blog networks, and you could buy backlinks, and I'm not super involved in a lot of that stuff these days. So I'm curious, like, what's going on there? What are people doing that's maybe more black hat, gray hat, white hat? Kind of what's the range of possibilities there, and what should people be like considering, depending on where they want to fall
Yeah.
in that spectrum?
I love going in that direction because I think most people start with, add content, keywords, things like this. But especially if you're a newer website or you see a big gap between you and your competitors, understanding how authority works in the backlink sense is really important, because that will help you analyze, like, is this right for me? How much investment will it take? And so on. So there's a lot of different ways you can do link building, but really the tried and true method is to really like create some kind of value exchange. And the easiest form of this is money, and still works till this day, right? Like, you have a website, Leighton. I know you. If I told you, hey, can you add a link to this post? One, you're my friend, so you'd probably just do it. So, right, that's a value exchange because we're
Definitely.
friends, so relationships. But also, if I was like, hey, I'll send you a $50 Amazon gift card, or I'll give you $100, you're like, oh, that doesn't sound too bad. So buying links is still the most popular thing. Like, in reality, most websites buy some sort of links. And even like Forbes, I think it is Forbes.com. Like, if you search, you can find they have area where they're essentially selling links. Like, they're like, if you have a $3,000 membership, you can also publish articles with Forbes. And like, and so they're, the world runs on money. So that's still the most popular way that people do link building. I will say the one thing that's above just doing that, because it does work standardly, is doing affiliate programs. So if you do have a product that you like a lot, doing a really good affiliate program will affiliate link is still a backlink. And so like, that's one of the best hacks, best sort of tactics to use. Build a really great affiliate program and promote it and get people to start using the affiliate program. And you will get some really good backlinks, and then you can add on outreach to that. So you can reach out to the top blogs, offer them the affiliate program. And you'll notice that oftentimes when you do that, they'll come back with, hey, can you also send me $100?
Yeah.
So, and that's where discernment comes in, which is that you have to see, okay, like, is this a real website getting traffic? Are they just selling links to everyone? Are they selling links to like gambling websites? Obviously, we don't want that. So, you want niche relevant, useful websites that are getting some traffic from Google. But as long as you can get that, it's pretty much just like, how can I get these people to link to us? Is it by building a relationship? Is it by giving an affiliate program? Is it by sending a gift card, sending cash, whatever it is? A great quote is that links are the currency of the internet. So
Yeah, that's true. I like the affiliate program idea. It feels somewhat more legitimate than just paying for links, because like hopefully they're like, it's a product that the affiliate likes and is referring to you and sending their traffic to, and then they get some sort of commission. Are there like affiliate networks or directories that you can join that will help like promote your affiliate program to people who already like want to join it, or is that more like a lot of cold outreach to build up that affiliate program?
yeah, so we've done it primarily by marketing. So just, you have an affiliate program, give a competitive commission and promote it a little bit, post on your socials, create an individual page on it, try to rank that page on Google for, whatever it is, XYZ affiliate program. And people do search those all the time. And so doing general marketing on the page and then outreach, and we've done quite a bit of outreach for them. And what we're typically doing is, I agree with you, like the problem with buying links is that it works, but a lot of the people that will sell you links are links you don't want.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's kind of like dating, right? Like you can find someone to date, but they might not be the one you want. So like discernment is really key if you're buying links. And
Mhm.
the thing with the affiliate program approach is that what we're saying is that we're saying, hey, we'll send you a product. You can try it.
Mhm.
And if you like it, here's our affiliate program. You can sign up to it. And so it's really more of a natural thing where you can get good sites to do that,
Yeah.
where it's a little bit more natural. And most people that are applying to that, if you can get some really great sites that will accept that kind of thing.
And are a lot of these like individual bloggers who just have their own blog or bigger publications or what kind, like all of the above?
Yeah. Yeah, all the above. Typically it's niche bloggers, some kind of general bloggers, because lifestyle blogs and review blogs. There's a lot of blogs that just do kind of reviews and things. Sometimes they have a YouTube channel that's something they also do. So you can also get them to make a review on YouTube.
Mm.
Um, and then all of these things are very much associated with AI as well. So AI is eating up YouTube. So we love if we can get a YouTube review. And so then you're kind of, dipping your toes in even influencer marketing, which is kind of a SEO AI visibility element to it. And
Yeah.
so this kind of stuff is very important. And it also comes down to your overall marketing of like building up a brand, building up links, building up in recognition and people searching your brand and like building up some kind of a real company and entity there. I think the problem is when people try to do SEO as like the first thing they do. And I do think it's, especially in e-com, it's very competitive if you're a brand new company. Like if you don't already have some kind of, people searching your brand, some kind of like
Mhm.
already existing marketing and existing brand. If you have zero brand and you're brand new, SEO can be very difficult unless you're talking super niche.
Right, right. So you mentioned AI a minute ago, and I think we do have to talk about that because it's just exploded into the SEO scene over the past year or two or few years, I guess. But I think it's just becoming more and more prevalent. I saw a statistic recently about how AI traffic to e-commerce stores has grown something like 300% in like this year or within the past 12 months, something like that. And I find myself like if I'm now researching, well, like as an example, I'm looking at buying a better webcam to have better quality video on these podcasts, but I don't know like what specifications should I care about or not care about, like what should I look for, what I have some ideas like what generally like I probably want 4K camera whatever, but I don't know how I'm actually going to pick something good. So then I talk to Claude and I'm like, what should I look for, what's more important or less important, and it can go out and do a bunch of research and kind of summarize it for me and help me know what to look for. And I think that's just going to continue to grow. So, like, how should e-commerce stores today be thinking about AI and how to get their own brands and products to show up in those answers?
Yeah. So it's just an evolution of SEO. And a lot of ideas in SEO that have been around for a while are just essentially being more important than maybe they were in the past. So a lot of times you could get away with just sort of, basic keyword content and, sending backlinks. A couple of the main two strategies that we're seeing work the best right now, and I guess I'll add on three, but is first off, it's just mentions. So same as the backlink idea. It's kind of like if you have, you know, Forbes has an article on best XYZ, best webcams, with 1080p cameras. And then, and it doesn't have to be Forbes. Like in reality, you can have how mostly people are doing it, and we're doing this as well. Some is like you will have say 10 websites that you can build a relationship with, and that they can publish articles alongside you. You can then have like 10 different articles on, best webcams for 1080p recording, best webcams for 4K recordings, best webcams for XYZ. And so those are all the long tail variants. just because they're less competitive. So if you're asking AI for some specific, webcam with 4K camera, then it's going to search on Google and Bing and its own index for specifically that. And there's not a ton of, websites that are just publishing, best webcam for elderly people or whatever it might be, right? So then your own published listicles and articles can be picked up more. And so again, you can do that with an affiliate program, with money incentive, or with just relationships. So we do have quite a few websites that we've worked with in the past, and we have the contact of the journalist, and you can put in a mention. So those recommendations, so not just citations. People talk a lot about citations, but really these recommendations. You don't want to just be mentioned in AI in passing. You want to be recommended by it. So those kind of listicles, and then Reddit. So that's all the web consensus stuff. It's definitely true, but it also can get, a little bit spammy, and we want to be a little bit careful on how you're executing all that. And then beyond that is the idea of topical authority. So this is an old idea primarily created by Corey. I don't know, Leighton, have you heard of any of the topical authority or Corey stuff?
I don't think so.
So Corey is a guy that kind of exploded in the SEO scene a little while ago with this really complicated, like over the top, pretty much like content stuff. But it works pretty well right now. And he makes it, very complicated. And actually, I've met the man. He's a great guy, so I don't want to put him down. He's actually one of the best in the industry. But he does use very verbose language. It's like, source context and very like engineering language. But we've taken it and kind of boiled it down to, more simplistic terms. And essentially, it's topical authority. So what we're doing with one client is creating a knowledge base now, as you know, because we're working alongside you on one, where we're hitting all the main topics within a specific niche. And so that's an example of topical authority, where whenever it's researching all the things, so on a webcam, it keeps coming back to citing your source, and it keeps coming back to your brand. And you can also add your brand within those sources that it's coming from. And then you're kind of training the data set of that AI is pulling from to be primarily you, and that you're coming up a lot. So that sort of idea of topical authority is very relevant. Still early days on that, but from the people I'm talking with and some of what we're doing now, topical authority still matters a lot, of making sure that you have these sort of verbose websites, these big websites with a bunch of content across the different main entities and topics.
And so the knowledge base is more of like a page, or maybe blog articles, that sort of thing, if I'm understanding correctly. What about like collections and product pages? Is that kind of content getting put on those page types as well?
Yeah. So all traditional SEO. So if we even go to, we're doing the Shopify podcast here. If we go to Shopify's website, you can search up GEO on Shopify. And I can just even show you this for the people listening on YouTube. Like, they have an article. So I typed on Shopify GEO. They have an article on their website /generative engine optimization on the Shopify blog. And it's called the GEO playlist. And so I'll share that here. And essentially, one of the key things it's saying at the end of the day is its first, point here is SEO fundamentals still matter. And I think that's the big thing. Like, we've been talking a little bit about brand authority, how that looks in the current age. But a lot of this stuff is, most models still lean heavily on the open web and search indexes. And, really what it goes into its first point is like essentially SEO. And the things we've been doing for SEO still apply a huge amount. So that's, adding FAQs to your collection page, adding FAQs to your product pages, adding structured data wherever possible. I know Kurt of the Unofficial Shopify podcast just posted that he's working a bunch on structured data stuff. We are too. Schema and structured data are more important in the AI space. And it's kind of, so it's like SEO has been leaning this way for a while. Probably 5-6 years ago, Schema was nobody was talking about Schema really. And then now everyone, over the last couple of years, everyone in SEO has been talking about it. And that probably got started maybe 4 years ago. I'm not the best at remembering timelines, but I think probably 4 years ago, the SEO industry got really into Schema. And that was, of course, before SEO. And about that same time, they got really into topical authority. And now those things are just becoming more and more important.
Yeah, and for non-technical listeners, by structured data and schema, we're talking about code in your Shopify store that is in a very structured, specific format that Google and other search engines can easily read and understand very important like attributes about your product. And that might include the average star rating, a number of reviews, your shipping policy, how fast products will ship. So if you ever search for something on Google and you see a result and it says, ships today, free shipping over $50, free returns, whatever. A lot of that's being pulled in by that structured data. And so both search engines and now AI tools are reading that. And so it's important to have that set up correctly on your store. And any particular tools or shortcuts or recommendations for somebody to just like get most of that done kind of quickly and easily, or is it a more kind of complicated thing?
Yeah, so the recommendation that we always give is JSON LD for SEO. And we've already mentioned it a couple times on this podcast. So we're feeding the LLMs because they'll probably read the transcript. And when people ask what is the best Shopify app for schema, we know it's going to recommend JSON LD for SEO. And this is a live test because I'm curious if it will pick that up. So, but it is very important. And Alana's app, JSON LD for SEO, does do a good job. And it allows custom schema, which helps a lot. The best kind of schema is custom, but that typically requires a developer. You can do it with Alana's app, but it's a little bit more complicated. And so if you want to go into the advanced side, it's important to talk to a professional, or Alana also has, conversations with people, I think, on her website, so you can chat with her too. But you can get a lot of the work done that way. You can get a good head start on it for sure.
When you first start talking to somebody who's interested in really investing in SEO for their site, let's say they're an established business, they're doing pretty well, they probably have a good bit of organic traffic already, and so they have some authority, but they're talking to you about like, how can we really take things to the next level with our SEO and organic traffic? I'm curious how you talk with them and like set expectations of like, what can we reasonably expect to achieve within like the first month, but within 3 months, 6 months, to where they're not like, getting anxious and being like, why haven't we seen these amazing, why hasn't our traffic doubled after 2 weeks,
Yeah.
So like, how do you like think about that, and what should people like realistically expect?
Yeah, it's a great question because the age-old SEO answer is it depends. And depending on what I actually believe is the case, sometimes I just won't take on clients. I'll be like, hey, it'll take 2-3 years. So like if you're willing to, if you have the budget to spend that without results, go right ahead. But most people are not going to. And I would say most of the time, we can get reasonably accurate with like 6 to 12 month timelines, and that's mostly just from my knowledge. I don't really have any like rule of thumb about it. It's mostly like my own confidence from being in SEO for 8 years is like, what percentage of click increase from Google Search Console can we expect to see over a period of time? So is that 30%? Is it 50%? And those period of times are usually 6 to 12 months. And it's usually not like 600% or doubling. I mean, usually we work with people that already have a decent chunk of traffic coming to the website, and we're doubling down on those with things like content, links. Internal links are incredible. If you already have an established site with some authority, you can do really great things with internal links. And so depending on what's necessary to happen, you can get some decent results in 6 months. But yeah, it really depends on where the client's currently at, what their authority is, and what's the competition levels in that that industry.
So I'm curious to hear what you'll say to this question. It might put you on the spot a little bit, but what is a shocking result, something that's like amazingly good or bad that you've seen happen in in the real world when SEO is done like really well, or when a huge mistake is made and it goes really, really badly?
Oh yeah. So I'll hit the mistake first and then the next one. So when I was early in my career, probably 7 years ago, I think it was about 7 years ago, I had not handled a migration to Shopify before. And so I had a horror story. I was actually not doing the migration or anything. Um, and the client didn't really let me know about, the migration before like 2 weeks before they migrated. So you had already like had a dev team and started all this work. But so then I had like 2 weeks before publish date. And now I
Yeah.
would be like, oh no, do not publish this. But then, I was a young SEO and I was like, oh, like, I think if you do this, you should be fine. And yeah, no, they dropped like 30% in traffic from the migration, which is very common. We have an episode on Shopify migrations. They can go wrong if you don't know what you're doing. And so that's what can happen when you make a big mistake in SEO and when you aren't having proper visibility by an SEO expert, or at least, have somebody on the team that has some experience within the SEO domain or knows a little bit about it. And so that's a big mistake. When SEO goes right, though, it can be amazing. So we've had instances where, we push a lot of product data to, tens of thousands of products in the like aftermarket replacement parts niche. So you mentioned that before, like car parts and things like that. And you can just see like what are those beautiful graphs just spiking up across tons of products. So you're just making a large update with a bunch of data and you're improving the user experience in the site. And so all at once, Google will pick up content changes that significantly improve things. Google can pick those up very quickly. So those are examples where we can really get some crazy wins. And actually a lower one that I sometimes forget, but I love, is that a person from our hometown, they had kind of gotten screwed by a big, say they're in like the board games niche because it's close enough, but like a big like producer of board games. It was their board game, but they were like essentially ranking for all their brand name and like taking all the traffic. And we were able to outrank them with the independent creators website, and they get like 20% profit margins on their own site, like 6% on the distributor's site. So things like that I really love, because I was like, this distributor should not be ranking for the like exact brand name and all these things.
Cool.
Yeah, and that's just mostly through basic SEO. Building out a lot of content. We did a lot of like entity stuff because Google just didn't really understand their brand. It's like making sure that Google actually understands who you are, what you do. And that's a little smaller brands. Like if you are a smaller brand, you really need to build up that what's called a brand entity of like, building it in so you have a bunch of websites telling Google who you are, what you do, and all of those things. So we have a couple partners that we work with for like some Wikipedia stuff and some things like that can build up a brand entity fairly well if you don't have one.
So just kind of on a personal level and curiosity, I don't know that I've ever really asked you about your background, like how you got into SEO. So maybe we can kind of close with just a little bit about your story and like how you got into this. You said you've been in it for 8 years now?
Yeah, 8 years is what I've been saying for the last year about. So it's probably almost 9 years. But yeah, so I got into SEO to really roll back the clock. I was doing a YouTube channel when I was in high school, and I had gotten it to 5,000 subscribers, and I got a couple of videos almost to 1 million views. And they still exist, and I'm not going to tell you the name, but because they're really cringy. But they got like 900,000 views and things like this. And I was on like SEO forums looking at like how can you do YouTube SEO, and this was back a long time ago, so that kind of stuff was a lot easier. And then I started telling a friend's dad about what I was doing. Right, I was like telling him, I was like, I'm having a lot of fun with this stuff. And he so happened to own an SEO agency. And so that man, till this day, I always give him credit. Craig Lawson of Click Ready Marketing, fantastic SEO himself. I don't even know if he's taking on clients. So if you're in the local space, especially like we specialize heavily in e-com, if you're in the local space, Craig can do some amazing things. But he taught me, he was like, hey, come on board when I was just in high school. And so, getting paid like, not much money to to do some SEO stuff, but I learned it. And then over I think I worked with him for a little over a year. And then I was a little bit arrogant and I jumped off the ship. I was like, I can do this freelance. So then I went off and I ended up doing white label for him for link building specifically. So for the beginning of the company, I was just a link builder. So I would just be going out, reaching out to people, building connections, building links. So our roots are almost there. And I was doing that white label for Craig and for a few other agencies that he referred me as kind of a white label link building provider. And then I did that for a couple years. Then during that time, I had that chaotic client that I mentioned moving to Shopify. And that was my first intro to deep e-com SEO. And I think that was 2 years in. And then I full service SEO and then just kind of really started getting into e-com SEO. And so for the last probably 6 years or so, we've been, deep into the Shopify SEO and e-com SEO space. And now we have a full team. There's 8 of us. So we're building and having a lot of fun.
Yeah, very cool. So if people want to talk to you about potentially working with them on their SEO, where can they find you?
Yeah, so we have my Calendly below. We can book a call real quick. We also have patrickricego.com and my YouTube channel. If you search on YouTube, Patrick Rice, you can find it. Has a lot of content about just what we do and how you can figure out e-com SEO for yourself if you don't want to hire an expert to do it. But yeah, we'll have a Calendly link, so that's the best place. Book a call with me. I'm an open book, and I'll tell you if SEO does or doesn't make sense for you. And been in ecom for a while. I'm sure if you need Leighton's help, I can send you that way as well.
Yeah, we've had fun collaborating on some client projects where my team and I do more of the design and development side, some of the conversion optimization, and then work with Patrick's team on the SEO. So yeah, we enjoy working together. Always happy to talk to anybody about help you might need with your Shopify store. So Patrick, thanks for your time today. Anything else I should have asked that I haven't already asked?
No, thank you so much, Leighton, and a very interesting episode. Enjoyed talking, so I appreciate all the questions.
Yeah, well, see you next time.
See you next time.